Off the beaded path, your beading starts here. Shop it off the beaded path bead store.
Welcome to week 4 of our Shapes of Summer bead along. My name is Kelly Dell with Off the Beaded Path beadstore.com, and if you missed it, in week 1 we revisited 3D circles and I showed you a new way to make that circle. Week 2 we did a 3D square. That was a 2 video week that showed you the basic square and how to add crystals to that square. Week 3, which was last week, was International Beading Week, where I showed you how to take a 3D hexagon and make it like a honeycomb and add little bees to it. And now this is week 4, where we're still going to stay with that hexagon, but I'm going to show you how to add crystals in with it, how to add a cabochon over the top of it, and then how to make a custom bell for it so that you will have a beautiful new pendant or ornament. So I'm going to be using a particular product in this video. I'm going to be using a 30mm cabochon. Now, the ones specifically that you are going to see in the video are from NYX, N-I-X Creations. You can find him on Etsy, and I'm going to put the link here on the screen. But I love NYX Creations cabochons. I've always had really nice cabs when I've gotten from them. So of course you can get your cabs anywhere, but the ones I'm using in the video are from NYX Creations. So if you want one like mine, make sure to hit him up for those. So let's go ahead and look at what you're going to need to get started. So as you saw in the materials list, we need 2 colors of a size 11 Delica. You're going to need a color A. Now, color A in this piece is everywhere you see this blue here. So the blue, and then it makes up my corners and it makes up the outline of my crystals. In this one, my color A is this purple. Here, the shiny purple, and you can see it's my corners and my V shapes. Your color B is going to be the color you're going to see the most. So it's everywhere this kind of green or teal color is, and here it's everywhere the matte purple. Now you are going to see that color B a lot because we're going to encase our cabochon with it, and we're going to be making our hexagon with it. So make sure your color B really goes well with your cabochon. Now, when you get ready to start, you're going to thread your needle with at least 2 yards of thread. It's probably going to take you 2.5 yards, and that's what I have threaded on. But if you're not comfortable with working with that much, just know that you will have to add your thread. So to get started, we're going to thread on 1A, 6B, and cull your B bead. So like that one right there is a little bit broke, so I'm going to set it to the side and not use that one. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6B. Then I'm going to thread on 1A and 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is a repeat. So again, it's 1A, 6B, 1A, and 6B. Now we want to do this 6 total times. So I'm going to thread on 5 more sets just like this. So once you get those 6 sets put on there, the easiest way to count them is you can count your sets of 1A and 6B, and you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sets of those. Now, if you need a stop bead, you can put that on there, but you're going to be pulling it off rather quickly. So pull it down, leave yourself about a 6-inch tail. And you are going to pass through the A's and the B's until you get to a B bead right before an A bead. Okay, so any B bead right before an A. So once you're coming out of that B bead, you are going to thread on 2A. You're going to skip an A and go through a B. Okay. We're going to peyote 2 B beads. So we pick up a B, skip a B, go through a B. And we do that one more time. We pick up a B, skip a B, go through a B. Now we're going to pick up an A. We're going to skip a B and go through an A. Then we're going to do this one more time, picking up an A. So we pick up an A, we skip a B, and we go through a B. So when you do this and you pull it through, you're going to have 3 A beads kind of in a little V shape. And now we're going to peyote 2 more B's. So we pick up a B, skip a B, and go through a B. And then we do that one more time. Okay, so this is what we're going to do for every side. So I'm going to do it again for you. So when you get here, we're going to pick up 2 of our A's, skip an A, and go through a B. Now I'm going to peyote 2 B beads. So we pick up 1, skip 1, go through 1. And pick up 1, skip 1, go through 1. And now we're going to put on our A. So we put on an A, skip a B, and go through an A. And pick up an A, skip a B, and go through a B. Now peyote 2 A's. Or 2 B's, I'm sorry, 2 B's. 1, oh, okay, so it looks like I pierced my thread here. So when you pierce your thread, the easiest thing to do is to take the needle off of your thread and then grab a hold of that bead and pull the thread just like that. Don't try to go through again and come back out of it, because if you do, you may end up making it worse. So just take the needle off and pull that through, and then go through. So I'm back to where I'm going to pick up 2 A's again. So I'm just going to continue to work around my piece until I've done all 6 sides. When you get ready to finish that round, you are going to think, what have I done? This is a mess. No, I promise you, it will fix itself on the next round. So I'm going to add the last B bead here. So what I need to do is I need to skip a bead and go through a bead like I normally would. And then let me pull this through. And then I'm going to step up by going through the first A bead of that set of 2 that I added. Now, we want to thread on 1 A and pass through the next A. And so when you pull that, it's going to pop into place. You all, I don't know if you heard it or not, but I felt it and heard it pop into place. So it pops into place. Now, I'm going to pick up a B and go through a B sticking up. Pick up a B and go through a B sticking up. Now you'll notice here that my row has got a little twisted, so I'm just going to flip it to where those 3 A's are to the outside, because now I'm going to pick up an A and I'm going to pass through 3A. So I'm going to go through 2 like that, and then I'm going to go through 1 more. And now thread on an A and go through a B. So I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A's. Now pick up a B and go through a B. And now pick up a B, and you're going to go through that first A of the next set of 2. And now I'm here to a corner again. So I'm going to pick up 1A, and I'm going to pass through the very next A, and it's going to pop into place there. Thread on a B, go through a B, thread on a B, go through a B, thread on an A, and I'm going to go through 3A. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so you can see what that's starting to look like. Now thread on an A, go through a B, thread on a B, go through a B, and then thread on a B and go through an A. And you're going to do this all the way around so that each side and corner now will look just like this. At the end of the round, this is what your piece will look like. I have 1 more bead that I need to add here. So when I pick up that bead, I have to finish the row by going through the first A that here on this corner, and then I need to step up by going through the first A that I added. So I'm going through both of those beads, just like that. All right, now we're ready to start the next row. So to start the next row, we pick up a B and go through a B sticking up. Pick up a B, go through a B. Now we have to put in some A's. So I pick up an A and I go through 5A. So 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to go through 2 more A. Now we thread on an A, go through a B, thread on a B, go through a B, and then you're going to thread on a B and go through that single A. So the only time we're going to be adding A's on this row are here at our V shapes. When we come to the corners, we're only going to be passing through those A's. So I'm going to do one more side here. So we pick up an A, go through an A. No, pick up a B. Pick up a B. Do as I show, not as I say. Pick up a B, go through a B. Pick up a B, go through a B. And now we pick up an A and we go through 5A. So 1, 2, 3. And as you start to go through these beads, you're going to need to stop every little bit and get the twist out of the thread. Because we are going through these beads in so many different ways, it is going to want to twist really bad, like this is here. So every couple of beads that we add, we're going to have to kind of pull the twist out of those beads. So just Once I get this one pulled through, then I'll just take and I will hold the thread up and run my fingers down to get rid of any twist in that thread. And once you do that, you will notice a big difference in how it goes through. Okay, so do that. Now A, go through the B, and then B, go through the B, and then B, go through the A. So I'm going to continue to do this all the way around. And remember, when you get to the V's, that's probably the time you're going to start getting a little bit of a twist. So take and just get the twist out of your thread and you'll be fine. I'm going to go ahead and finish this row and I'll be right back. Once you finish the row, this is what you should have. I have one more bead left to add here. So when I pick up that last bead, I'm going to go through the corner A and then through the first B that I added on this round. So this is what you should have. At this point, you are more than welcome to get rid of that tail thread, but don't just cut it, weave it through a little bit before you trim it. Now for the next row. On this row, we are going to pick up a B and go through a B. Now, here with my A's, I pick up an A and I'm going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 A. And you'll want to be careful because if you are using a matte finish bead for your A's, you want to be careful that you don't bust any. They have a little bit of a thinner wall to them, so they bust a little bit easier, so just be careful. So now I'm going to pick up an A, go through a B, pick up a B, go through a B. Now I'm at a corner here, so when we get to this corner, we're going to pick up 2 A's and come across to the B. Now a B, go through a B, and then we are ready to repeat what we've done here. Picking up an A, coming through, an A, a B, and 2 A's. At the end of that row, this is what your piece should look like. I'm right here in the corner to this last 2A that I need to add. So when I do this, I'm going to go through the last B of the row and then the first B that I added. So I'm going to go through 2 B's here to finish and do the step up. Now, at this point, your piece will still be very springy. It's not going to stiffen up until we make that second side and connect them together. So we have 1 row left to add. So on this row, from where your thread is exiting, you're going to go ahead and pick up 1A, and you are going to pass through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of those beads. Okay. Now, we want to thread on 1A, go through a B, 1B, go through that A. Now we're going to put in 1A and go through the A. So now we've got a B, go through the B. And then we pick up our A, go through A, B, A. We're going to do that all the way around. at the end of this round, you'll notice we have some nice points again, and then we have our deep V's. So I have one last B bead to add, so I pick that up, and I'm just going to go through the last B of the row. There's no need for me to step up because we are now done with this side of the hexagon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zigzag down through the beads in a way that I can come out of an A bead in the corner. Just like that. So now you'll see there, I'm coming out of that A bead. So on this row, we're not, just like all the other shapes that we did, we're not going to be adding any A beads in the corners. We're going to add them in the middle here where our V's are at, but we're not going to add them in the corners on this row. So I pick up a B and I go through a B. Pick up a B, go through a B. Pick up a B, go through a B. Now I'm going to pick up an A and go through the B. So the great thing about this is you already have an A in place right there so that you know exactly when you are going to put those A's in. Just like that. Now I'm going to continue with my B's. So a B, go through a B. B, go through a B. And then a B and go through the A here in the corner. Now we're going to continue to do this all the way around in the center of the hexagon. You can see now the beads to the inside are kind of standing up, and that's what we want them to do. I'm back here in the corner and I'm going to pick up my 1B bead and I'm going to go through the corner A bead, and this finishes out the row because remember I started by coming out of that bead. Now I'm going to step up by coming through the very next B bead. Okay, we're going to pick up a B and go through a B sticking up. Pick up a B, go through a B. Now, just like we did here when we started, we pick up an A and go through the A, and then pick up an A and go through the B, just like that. Now B, go through the B, B, go through the B, but now I'm in a corner. So when you get to the corner, this time you pick up 2A and you pass through the next B there. So then that puts us 2 beads in that corner where they need to be. So now I'm just going to keep working just like I did this side here, and I'm going to do this all the way around. When you get to the end and you're ready to step up, you're going to pick up your 2A beads and you're going to finish the row by going through the lower B bead here because that finishes your row, and then you're going to step up by going through the B right next to it. So essentially, if you can get through it, you can go through 2 B's at one time, so that way that finishes the row and does your step up. So at this point, it is still not stiff. It is still very wobbly. So don't worry if that's the case for your piece as well. Now thread on 1 B and go through a B. Now we pick up an A and we go through the 3B. So I'm going to go through 1, 2, and then 3, like this. So when you do that, it's going to lay those beads down more. They're not going to want to stick up as bad. And then we pick up an A and go through the B, so that now we have our little V of 5. And we're going to peyote with B's until we get over here to the corner. So B, go through a B, and B, go through an A. Now here in that corner, I pick up one A, and I go through the next A. And you're going to hear it and feel it pop into place. So there we go. And now we're just going to continue doing what I've done here on the other 5 sides. At the end of this round, you should really see that taco form taking shape. It's really folded over on itself. So when I add that last corner A, you can see here that I have one B left to add right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish the row and do the step up at the same time. So I'm going to go through these 2 B beads. And when you do that, that is now finished with that row. So we're immediately coming out right here at an A. So I'm going to pick up an A and I'm going to go through the 5 A's. Now thread on an A, go through a B, thread on an A, go through an A, no, thread on an A, go through a B, thread on a B, go through a B, thread on a B, go through an A. Now thread on a B, go through a B. So again, here in the corner, we're not adding any A's. We're only adding the B's. Thread on a B, go through a B, and now I'm ready to add the A's again here at the V shape. So you're going to continue around working the piece until you are ready to get to your step up. All right, it's getting closer to being finished. So we are adding the last B bead for the round. So if I hold it this way, you can see there where that B bead is missing. So I'm going to put on the B, but I'm also going to do the step up here. I'm going to go through a B and an A. Now, because I'm coming out of an A and I can't add one, what I've got to do is I have to pass through the A beads to come out over here. So you can almost look at it as on this row, our step up is through all of the A beads here in our V shape. So now we're going to work on the last actual beaded row. So when I come out of the A's, I'm going to pick up an A and go through a B. Pick up a B and go through a B. And now here in the corner, let me grab a hold of it. Oh, goodness. Here we go. So now here in the corner, you have to be careful. We're going to pick up 2A, and we're going to go through the B over here. And it's almost going to want to seem to fold up on itself like that, but that's okay because we're going to zip up this next row. So now pick up a B, go through a B, and then pick up an A, go through the A, and then all these A's here, and then we're going to continue around just like we did right here. Once you completely finish the row and go through all of the A beads you are now ready to start zipping this up. And this is where you're going to need your 6mm beads. So your 6mm, of course, are going to go into those openings. And unlike the square that would use the 4s are too small for this. I even tried a smaller version of the piece, and it still would not take 4s. So this one, the one we're doing today, has 6 B's, an A, and 6 B's. This one has 4 B's, an A, and 4 B's on that first row. And you can see the size difference there. And like I said, the 4mm would not fit, so we have to do the 6s. So we're going to start out by doing just the basic zip. So I'm coming out of this A here on the left side. So I'm going to come to the A on the right, through the B on the left, the B on the right, through the single, or the first, I shouldn't say the single, the first A of the set of 2 there on the left, through the single point bead on the right, through the second A of that set of 2 on the left, through the B on the right, through the B on the left, through the A on the right, and now through the B on the left. Now, I figured out how to do something that is a little bit easier, whereas in the square, I hadn't figured this out yet. It would have made life a lot easier. So I'm going to show you now on this. So in the square, if you watch the square video, you'll remember that when we put in the crystals, we came through the A on the same side. So I'm going to go through the A here on that left side. But then we went around and we continued zipping, and then we came back and we centered this bicone. Well, I'm going to show you a way that's going to center it without us having to go all the way around again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to pass down through the A that is right across from the one I'm coming out of here on that right hand side. And you'll want to be careful that you don't get it caught on the single A that was there. So I pull through that, then come through the A, and you can do B. You can do a bead there if you want to as well. I'm going to come through that, the crystal, and the B or the A, whichever one you want. And then I'm going to come through that same A that's on this right side. So that centers the bicone now without us having to go all the way around. So we're going to turn around now and we're going to go to the other side. Make sure you don't get the thread caught there. It's going to be really easy to do. Okay, I'm going to go through the 11, the bicone and the 11, and then I'm going to come back over here again to the left because remember, that's where I ended when I added that crystal. So I'm just going to go back over there so that now I can continue back and do the zigzag to keep zipping up. And see, it's now centered. I've done that in one little go. That didn't take me any extra time to do. Took me a lot less time to do that than having to put them all in and then go all the way back around. So I'm going to continue to zip my piece and add the bicones just like that. Once you've got all the crystals added and you've zipped up all the way around, then you're ready to make the cabochon and the bail. So let's take a look at how to do that. Now that you have the hexagon made, we're going to work on the encasement. Now, the encasement is made for a 30mm cabochon. If you make this hexagon smaller or bigger, it will affect how this lays on it or if it fits. So I'm using the 30mm, and I've got a needle threaded with a new piece of thread that is 2 yards long. And I have threaded on 76 of my bee beads. Now, count those 3 times to make sure you have 76 beads on here. Because when you start your peyote stitch and you start working around, it's going to frustrate you if you've not counted right. So once you get those 76 beads on there, if you need a stop bead, please put a stop bead on your thread. But what we're going to do is we're going to come down here, and from the tail, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to pass through several of those bee beads again, so that my beads make a circle like this. Now we're going to work tubular peyote. So to do so, my thread is coming out of 1 single Delica. I pick up 1, I skip 1, and I go through 1. And I'm going to put my fingers there and pull. And so when you do that, those 2 beads should lay side by side, just like that. And so we're going to do this all the way around, just picking up 1 bead, skipping 1, and going through 1. Now, again, I'm only going to be using my bee beads and my size 15 seed beads with this encasement. So again, you pick up, skip, and go through. Okay. So it's going to look just like this as you work all the way around. Once you've gone all the way around and you're ready to add the last bead, don't make the mistake of taking that bead and jumping straight up here to the top where this bead is sticking up. You have to finish the row. So if we go on with our normal progression, we skip a bead and we go through a bead. So when we go through that bead, it's going to be this bead here. And then we want to step up by passing through the first bead that we added on the row, which is going to be this bead here. Now the next row is very simple. We just pick up a bead and we go through the next bead sticking up. And we do this all the way around. So just pick up a bead and go through the next bead sticking up. And if you need to put this on a dowel or something that you can find that's going to be similar to the size of this ring, you're welcome to. I just put it on my fingers like this, but you do what you have to do. It's completely fine. But you're just going to continue to work the row, just picking up a bead and going through the next bead sticking up. So once you finish this row, this is what your piece should look like. And you'll see here at the end of the row, I still have 1 bead left to add. So we pick up that single bead and we go through the last bead sticking up on the row, which is going to be this bead here. And then we step up by coming through the first bead we added, which is this one here. Now, we're going to do 1 more row just like that. So we just do it exactly like we did. We pick up a bead and we go through the next bead sticking up. And so when you get to the end of the row, you'll see here, you're going to have rows of 3, rows of 2, rows of 3, rows of 2, and that's going to be all the way around. When you finish the row, you have to put on 1 bead and come through the last bead of the row, which is going to be this bead here. And we're going to do a step up. So we're going to come through the very next bead, which is going to be that first bead that we added. Now we're done with the bee beads for now, and we're going to jump over to our size 15 seed beads. Excuse me. So when we do this, we're going to do 2 rows of our 15s. So we're going to pick up a 15, and we're going to use it just like we did our bee beads here. We go through the next Delica and pull it out of our hands. Here we go. Okay, and then I'm just going to work just like I've done the last 2 rows, just putting on a 15 and going through the next bee bead sticking up. And as I work the rows, I'm going to pull the thread tight. Each time I come through a bead, I'm just going to give it a good, a good tug like this. So that way it will start to pull towards the center, because that's what we want it to do. So just keep on with 2 rows of your 15s, just like we did your bee beads. Make sure to step up at the end of your row. At the end of those 2 rows, this is what you should have. It's not going to be 100% straight. It's going to be a little wobbly. And on the front, it's not going to be, it may be 100% circular, but you see mine, it's not 100%. But once we put it onto the cabochon and we do the backing, it is going to work and be good. Now, here's the thing. When you are working with cabochons, especially glass cabochons, sometimes the thickness of the glass can be different depending upon the cabochon and the manufacturer and what batch it was made in and all of that kind of stuff. So on this one here, I did the exact amount of rows that I did here. But when I got ready to do this one, I actually had to add 1 more row of bee beads, because even though they looked similar, this one was just a smidge bigger. And I'm going to show you here, if I lay this one in, you can see that it barely covers the edge right there. So this tells me that I'm going to do 1 more row of my bee beads so that this will fit really good. So when in doubt, just go ahead and add 1 more row, but you want it just over the edge when you look at the bee beads right there. You want them just over the edge. So I'm going to do 1 more row of bee beads. And to do that, I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to pass through the beads at a diagonal from where my thread is coming out here. Sometimes you can get that through in one go, and sometimes you got to stop and do it twice or 3 times. But you'll notice here that my thread is coming out of an up bead here along the back side, and that's what we want. So now I'm going to work another row of bee beads just like I had worked the rounds here. I'm just going to pick up a bead and come through the next bead sticking up. And I'm going to do this all the way around, and I'm going to make sure to step up at the end of my row. After working another row of bee beads, I can now tell that this is going to be the right size. You can see the beads just go just over the edge there, and so this is going to be what I need. So if you need more, do another row. It's completely up to you. Now I'm going to be working again with my size 15 seed beads. And on this row, when I do this one, I'm going to work this row loosely, meaning I am not going to pull this row tightly yet. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this row in loosely, and then I'm going to sit my cabochon down in it, and I'm going to pull the thread tight to kind of cinch it around the cabochon and hold the cabochon in place. You'll see I've gone all the way around, and now I'm going to lay my cabochon in face down, and then I'm going to pull the thread. Now, it's not going to pull super tight. We're going to go ahead now, because it's in there, and it's going to hold just enough. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work another row of peyote using our size 15 seed beads. And when you do this row, pull very tight. Once you add your 2 rows of 15s, this is what your piece should look like. Now, if it doesn't look like this, or you feel like you've made the encasement too big by adding a row or 2 rows, or however many rows you add for your cabochon, then just take that row out or the 2 rows out, whatever you feel like, to make it nice and tight like this. So we should have it tight on the front and tight on the back. For now, we're just going to take and set this to the side and start working on the bail. The bail I decided to make for this piece is a worked square. So if any of you watched my open star video a couple of weeks ago, you have gotten really, really good at warped squares. The warp square on this bail will hold something that is about a 6 millimeter in diameter size. This is a flare tip pin, and so you can see it's going to hold something about that size. Now, of course, you can do any kind of bail you want. I just wanted something a little different from what I normally do. So we're going to go over how to do that bail, and then we're going to put this all together. So to attach or to start this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up 4 of my A beads. And I'm going to bring them down, and I'm going to leave about a 6-inch tail. I'm going to pass through all 4 beads again. And then through 1 more bead there. So it looks just like this. It's going to be a little like wonky square is the best way to put it. Now, once you have your wonky square, we're ready for the next row. So we pick up 2A and come through the very next A. And we're going to do this all the way around. So 2A, go through 1A. 2A, go through 1A, and we've got 1 more to go right here, and it's going to feel like there's not enough room for it, because you'll see there it looks pretty, pretty bunched up, but there's still room. So you go through that last A, and then we are going to step up at the same time. So we're going to go through the last A on the row and then go through the first A that we added there. So that when I pull this, this one you kind of have to make it sit the way it needs to. But this is what it'll look like. We're going to thread on 2A and go through 1A. That's going to be the very next A. Now we're going to thread on 1B, and we're going to come through the next A, which is going to be the first A of that next set of 2. Thread on 2A and go through the next A. And now thread on 1B and go through the next A. 2A, go through the A, B, go through the A. We're going to do it again. Now, when we put in our last B bead here, to finish out, I have to go through this bead right here. I'm going to go ahead and go through 2 beads because I'm going to go ahead and step up at the same time. So I'm going to go through 1 and 2. And it's hard to almost see it now because it's going to fold. If I can get a little knot out there, and oh my goodness, I'm just taking everything with me here. I guess it's ready to be attached to something. Okay, here we go. Okay, so at this point, once you pull that bead and it kind of pops into place, it's no longer going to want to stay flat. It's going to want to fold like a taco, and that's okay. That's what we want it to do. So now we're just going to keep on working our rows. In each of the 4 corners, we're always going to pick up 2 of our A beads. So I pick up 2 and go through the next A bead. And then on the sides, we pick up 1 B and go through the B, 1 B and go through the A. So we peyote across, single peyote with our A bead, our B beads. A's in the corner, B's on the sides. So 2 A's, go through the A, and then peyote with my B's. So I've got a B and go through a B, B, go through an A. And I'm going to continue to do this all the way around. So I'm adding the last B for the row. So this means I'm ready to step up. So I have to finish the row and then go through the first A that I added in this row. And you're going to feel it and almost hear it pop into place. And so we are going to continue working just like I did here until we have 15 B beads across. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I'm going to keep going just like I did here until I have 15 B beads added down each side with my A's in each corner. So once you have completed the amount of rows needed for the bell, this is what your piece will look like. So we need to take care of this short tail thread. So I've gone ahead and I've threaded my needle with this short thread because as you've worked, this more than likely here in the center has loosened up. So what we want to do is we want to take and reinforce this loop of 4 again in the center. And we want to pull it back tight if it has gotten loose. And I normally will try to go through it twice, depending on how much tail I left. And then once you've gone through all 4 beads twice, then I go ahead and I follow the beadwork up on one side. And then I come down the other side and lock this thread in place. So I'm just going to stitch it through several beads. And then I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that thread. Now, once you get rid of that thread, then we need to get this thread into position for connection. So it actually needs to be coming out either on this side or this side here. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to follow the beadwork. I'm not going to add anything. I'm just going to go through the beads, the up bead and the down bead, as I work down the side to come out down here. So once I get to this last B bead, then I'm going to go through the 2 A's, so that I'm coming out right there. And now I'm ready to connect it so that we can finish out. But I'm going to set this one to the side for now because we're going to go ahead and connect our cabochon to the hexagon before we do this, so we don't have to worry about getting thread caught on the bell. So now that you have all 3 components finished, you're ready to then connect them all together to make the finished piece. So the first thing we're going to work with is our cabochon. And with that cabochon, what I want it to do is I have to first decide what I want to be the top and the bottom. So obviously this is directional and I already know what's the top and the bottom. But if you get one like this that doesn't necessarily have to go to the top or the bottom, it can go to the side, or like this one can, you know, go to the side a little bit at a more diagonal. And even this one here, you know, I could put it in like that, or I could put it in like this, however you want. It's up to you. But if you've got one, again, like I said, this one is pretty directional. Then you want to pass your beads or your needle through the beads to exit somewhere here, one of the B beads along the edge of the piece. Because what we're going to do is we're going to tack this down. So I want to make sure that when I tack it down, it's tacked, you know, where this will be straight, or as straight as I can possibly get it. There's no perfect way to tell you because there's not a great... I'm trying to figure out how to say it. There's not a great number on it to be even to 4, or, you know, even being even to 2. You're going to be going through multiple beads. So it makes it a little bit hard. So don't necessarily worry too much about, you know, oh, I have to make sure I get through this exact bead on the opposite side. Just know that we're tacking this in place. So if you don't get the exact opposite bead, it's okay. So I'm going to thread on an a B. I'm threading on a B. And I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to pass through the B that is kind of right up from the A here in the center. So I'm going to get that through here. And if you have a hard time getting through that B bead, then just go to another corner and do that one. Do what makes your life easiest. Now, I don't want to try to go through that single A there. So I'm going to pick up an A, and then I'm going to come across, and I'm going to go through the B right on the other side of that A. And it's going to pop that bead in place there. Now I'm going to grab another B bead, and I'm going to kind of hold this back so it makes my life a little easier. And I'm just going to come through, just come a little ways back, and now pull that, and that looks like that is going to lay in perfectly the way that I want it to. Another thing you can do is if it doesn't, you can kind of hold on to your beadwork and kind of move if you want to cheat around it, you can kind of wiggle and move the cabochon in it a little bit. So that way, if you don't get it exactly straight, you can fudge it a little bit. Now, I'm going to reinforce this connection a couple of times, and then I'm going to stitch down to the bottom, and I'm going to tack and do the same thing down here at the bottom that I just did at the top. So I've stitched the thread to come out here at the bottom. And remember, this does not have to be exactly to the exact bead straight across, because again, we're tacking this in place. So from the bead that I'm coming out of, and let me hold it like this again so I know exactly. I'm going to come through one more bead there. And we pick up, do just like the top, we pick up a B and go through the B. And I'm going to leave it loose just for now. Pick up an A and go through the B right across from it. And pull that tight, and that's going to be exactly where I want it. And so now pick up another B, and my needle just came unthreaded. And then I'm going to come through a B here on the bottom. And remember, guys, don't fret about this. We're tacking it, okay? We're tacking it. We're not being perfect. Okay? And then I'm just going to reinforce that. And then I'm going to tie this off. And then we're ready to put our bell on. Once you have the thread stitched in and trimmed off, then we're ready to put the bell. Now remember, our thread is already in place for the bell, exactly where we need it to be. So I'm going to pick up an A, and my needle is coming out of this right side of that column. So I'm going to take the needle, and here at the top in this single bead from right to left, I'm going to pass that needle through. And then I'm going to pick up another A, and I'm going to pass the needle through the A here on the left of the column on the bell. So it will look like this. Now, you'll want to reinforce this. So when you get ready to reinforce it, what I like to do is I pass up through a few beads. So let's say 2 of the A's or 3 of the A's. whatever works. Okay, and now I'm going to turn it around here so that I'm working back down towards the cabochon. And I'm going to make a turn. So I'm going to come through the B bead right next to that A that I'm coming out of. And then I'm going to pass down through another A. And then I'm going to pass down through the column here. Just be real gentle. And then I'm going to go through that single A again. And then I'm going to come up on this side and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come up a few beads and then I'm going to turn around. And when I come back down, I'm going to come out of that single A that I'm connecting it with. So I'm going to go through that A. Now I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to pick up an A and I'm going to come up through the column that's on this side. I'm going to turn around. Come back through that A. And then the single A again to come to this other side. And now I'm going to pick up an A on this side. And then come up through the A there. So that there are 2 A's on the front connecting the bell and 2 A's on the back. Now, what I suggest you do is go through and reinforce this a couple of times. And then once you come out of this A, I would suggest coming down and kind of reinforcing the connection here where that A meets the A's there. So that way it will all pull it nice and tight together and you don't have to worry about it coming off. Once you do that, go ahead and get rid of this thread and then you will be able to start figuring out your necklace for the piece. So before we finish up today, we do need to talk about the back of your piece. Now, this would make an amazing ornament if you took another one of these and put it on the back. That would be very cool. And I mean, if you wanted to have a double-sided pendant, you could do that as well. Now, you'll notice that I did not cover up the back of this piece. The reason being is it does not touch the skin at all because it's got this whole 3D hexagon that is covering it up. So if you want to cover up the back, that is completely your prerogative, and please feel free to do so. I just knew that it wasn't going to touch anything, and I didn't want to risk damaging or scratching anything on the back of this that may take off that beautiful piece in the front. So you can see here on the nativity one, I put it on a gold chain and it looks wonderful. I did the sea turtle. I did a really simple spiral on this one, and that might give you an idea. And I haven't done anything with the purple one yet. We'll see what comes about with that one. But you guys can find the pattern for this on my website at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. You can find the cabochons at Nix, N-I-X Creations on Etsy. And I will have a very limited number of kits available for the sea turtle. And for the nativity, I will have a limited number of kits to start with on those. And then I will also be adding some more kits. I may end up adding the dragonfly at some point. And then I also have another one that I will probably be adding. So if you check and they're immediately sold out, please email me what you want, and we will start a wait list or something to get you guys these sets and kits that you want. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to add crystals to our 3D hexagon. And oh, before I forget, I told you guys earlier about this smaller hexagon and adding the beads to it. So if you want to make it bigger, because this is the smallest that you'll be able to make this with the crystals. If you want to make it bigger, it has to have an odd number of beads here along each side. So let's say you want let's see, this one here has 13 beads. We had 6B and 1A, so that's 13. So you just want an odd number of beads that will be for each side of it. But now remember, the more beads you add, the bigger it's gonna get. And if you add more sections instead of 6 sections, you will no longer have a hexagon. You will have a new shape. So just be aware of that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Come back next week when we are going to work on the 3D triangle. You guys have a great one, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.